busy week this week. We're finally back in Pennsylvania. We are back live streaming here, so we've got decent connection. We've got a good week ahead of us, and we've got some amazing questions coming in from the community. And, of course, we've got that T-shirt giveaway. Why does it say live in 10 minutes? We should not be live in 10 minutes. I think we're live right now. All right, so let's start off. T-shirt giveaways. T-shirt giveaways. Winners at Position the Positron Dips video. All you've got to do to claim that prize for that free shirt is to email us at support@garagestrength.com. You won the giveaway. Provide a screenshot of your YouTube studio. Use the same account that you commented on, so it's got to be the Position the Positron. And then you just send us a screenshot of your account. Say, this is me. I won that sweet shirt. Send it to me. The other one, Sean Turner 2404 from the fighting video. So everybody that is eligible, all you have to do is comment on every single video. Give me that shirt. So every single video that we've got, that long form video, you enter in to win that free T-shirt, and you are the T-shirt winners this week. Position the Positron and Sean Turner 2404. Again, email us, send us a screenshot, and then go from there. Now, we've got a couple awesome questions because we got a lot of people got super triggered by me saying 50 clap push-ups a day will get you to bench 350. And usually I have said in the past 315, but I do just want to say it'll get you to 350, and you got to do it every single day, and you actually have to do it. And a lot of the comments were, oh, what's the evidence? And I'd say the evidence would be a very large mass of high school kids that can bench over 315 in high school, creeping up to 405 pounds. And then also a lot of chicks in high school benching 225, over 205 at least. So on that, Kip Nitch asked us a sweet question off of one of those shorts of the clap push-ups where he said, what's the magic sauce for 4 plates on the squat? And so I think the big factor is like everybody looks at, if I can, yes, if you weigh above 180, I will say that. A lot of people, though, will say, I want to bench 3 plates, or I want to back squat 4 plates. And if you're a chick, it's, I want to bench 2 plates, I want to back squat 3 plates, right? It's I would say it's pretty similar across the board. Yes, there's going to be some body weight stuff in there, but that's going to be the general rule of thumb as far as like general training is concerned. And what, one of the big questions from Kip Nitch is, what's the magic sauce for those 4 plates on the squat? And so for me, we've done videos on this where we've talked about squatting every day. And I like to think about, all right, if you have somebody who's doing clap push-ups every day, what's something similar that you can do as far as squats are concerned? Because it can be harder on your body to recover from some type of squatting every single day or some type of, plyometric every single day. So what I would say, okay, I wanted to share this. You should be squatting every single day that you're training. And what I would do is I laid this out real quickly. Day 1, you do a back squat. Day 2, you do a back squat variation. So this could be pause back squat, a double bounce back squat. It could be a Duffalo bar back squat. It could be a front squat. It could be a pause front squat. It could be a back squat off a pin. You do on day 2 some type of variation. Day 3, you'll do a speed variation. So that would be unbroken back squat, unbroken with a jump. It could be unbroken front squats, something that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit faster. Day 4, you will specifically do a pause squat. And I would say pause squat out of the bottom. Okay, so pause in the hole, 2 seconds, drive up fast. Pause in the hole, 2 seconds, drive up fast. Okay, and then day 5, we're back to back squatting. So I would say that secret sauce that you use for the bench would be those clap push-ups. For the actual squats, it's going to be some type of squatting 5 days a week. Okay, I think that's pretty easy. And we have talked about in the past where I front squatted every single day for 2 years straight, and my front squat went from basically like 170 all the way up to 212. Not a huge front squat, but enough that it was, pretty freaking good at the end that I felt good about that. Okay, so now the next question that we got, dude, and these guys, everybody's questions. This is from Harold Butts. Harold Butts, 8754. Another question off of the explosive push-ups. Is there a video that could explain why instead of just yelling at me to do it? This is for the clap push-ups. So Harold Butts was complaining that I just yell at people. I'm sorry. I hope people aren't offended by my intensity. But I think that there's a couple big factors here for Harold. One, the big factor is going to be it's an easy way to increase volume. Okay, so you can get a lot of volume in a specific plane. You know, we're doing bench presses. Okay, so it's on the same plane, and that's going to help get more. 50 reps every single day. Your body is going to have to adapt to that volume. That's a lot of mechanical tension. Then you make it explosive. That increases your coordination. That increases your neural drive, your neural intelligence, your adaptive coordination. Okay, so now we're seeing that the coordination starts to improve as well as that mechanical tension. And then that third big aspect that I feel plays a major role is going to be the acceleration through the entire pattern. Okay, so if you struggle with the lockout, it's going to be targeting your triceps. If you struggle off your chest, it's going to be, you'll feel it in your pecs. But wherever it is that you struggle, you're going to have a really, really strong feeling from the amount of volume, and it's going to help develop that area as well as it possibly can. So instead of just yelling at you like I do in shorts, apparently, according to Harold Butts 8754, those are the main reasons. Drastic increase in volume, a positive response for neural adaptation, and then that third big factor is going to be just patterning with the acceleration. Okay, we're essentially doing plyometrics for your upper body, and I think that's a big factor that a lot of people forget, is that plyometrics play a major role in athleticism and in coordination and just becoming a better individual. I will say there's a point, let's say we do the clap push-ups every day for 12 weeks straight, right? There's a point around like 4 to 6 weeks where you might feel extraordinarily sluggish, right? You might feel very, very fatigued, and you might notice that when you're actually benching. And a lot of people bail around that time. But my argument there would be keep grinding through that time frame. The interesting part about doing these long-term challenges like the squat every day or the clap push-ups every day for 12 to 16 weeks is that it's just a regular grind, and you start to, after a while, when I front squatted every single day for 2 years, you just start to like, it becomes commonplace, and you start to feel like it's a regular occurrence, and you start to get less stressed by it, and your body then starts to blow up. So another great question from the community, Marcos Lacombe. Let's see, where is this? Okay, so we got Marcos Lacombe. And this question, yes, there we go. Okay, so the Marcos Lacombe question, this is from our video speed exercises that you've never done. Okay, so this was a great video. I was wondering, how do you think weight vests compare to sleds? And as far as I personally feel, I'm not a huge weight vest person. Okay, one, there's a decent amount of literature that will show you that weight vests, so if we're doing jumps like plyometrics, don't do a tremendously good job as far as imprinting greater jumping capability, even in an acute setting. There's some evidence that it might help to a point in an acute setting, meaning in that specific session, but long term, they have little to no imprint on the body. Now, there is evidence based off of what I'm showing you right here up on the screen on YouTube. So if you're on our YouTube live, you can see this study right here. Okay, so this study is effects of sprint training with and without weighted vest. Okay, and so this is effects of sprint training with and without weighted vests on speed and repeated sprint ability in male soccer players. So we're investigating based off of this. What are my thoughts on weighted vests? I think they're a decent tool. I don't think they're the greatest tool. But in regards to sleds, I probably would prefer sleds. I think sleds have a better transfer, but there's literature on weighted vests, so let's dive into it as quickly as possible. The purpose of this study was to assess the effect of resisted sprint training using weighted vests. And so essentially they tested a 30-meter sprint, they tested a 10-meter sprint, and they tested the counter movement, and then they looked at repeated sprint ability. Okay, so they went through that. And then what they did was they performed 2 times a week. They did a workout 2 times a week. Okay, the only difference between the 2 interventions was that the weighted vest group performed all the sprints with an additional weight of about 20% or 19% of their body mass. Okay, so there's an unweighted and there's a weighted group. And so what they ended up doing, they go through the same exact testing protocol twice a week for 6 weeks. And the percent changes for both groups combined had a very large correlation with percentage changes in AT. Let me see what AT is here quickly. AT being, average time. Okay, so there we go. So in conclusion, the findings of this study indicate that both sprint training methods used seemed to be effective to improve soccer-related performance measurements. Okay, so unweighted and weighted, specific to the vest, both have a positive impact on overall capability. And I think that would sort of be my stance. I think it's fair to use weighted vests. I think they're solid. I would just argue it's not like the absolute greatest way to actually improve your overall performance. Now, I want to get into, this might be my favorite one. Okay, this might be my absolute favorite question of all time, because I actually took this question seriously. And essentially, this question, I hope you guys like this as much as I do. It's something that I think, and I'm going to share two studies here. I think it actually, maybe we only have, so we have the same effect of yelling on maximal, and then the effect. Okay, so that's that one. Where is this one? It's the same test. So we're actually missing one of the studies. Jason, can you put, I should have put, there's a study from Drexel that I thought I had in the document. Let me see if you could put that in there. And if not, we'll put that into the chat. So you'll see it in this chat right here. If Jason has that, if I actually did my job properly. But the question was, this is from Rhino Top Deck Rhino 3726. Core exercises to get shredded. Dane, please help. Dude, I love this comment, right? Dane, please help. I've been following your Garage Strength on YouTube and Instagram and the podcast on Spotify for nearly 2 years. 2 years he's been following. My main issue is that my squats sound more like grrf compared to Dane's pff. How can I fix this? Okay, so basically, Rhino Top Deck Rhino is saying that Gotcha Racing got a shirt finally. Gotcha Racing got that shirt. Okay, so Rhino Top Deck Rhino is saying he's struggling with his yell and he wants to master that yell. He wants to get better with it. Jason, it looks like you do have the effect of vocalization on static hand force output because it's not in the pictures here. So what I wanted to do to turn this comment into an actual applied method for you guys as viewers is, what does yelling do for your overall performance output? Okay, so if we're looking at something like grip strength, what does yelling do? Okay, and oftentimes in sports like throwing, weightlifting, I'm trying to think where else you might, tennis, you see quite a bit, or you'll hear yelling. You'll hear athletes yell. Okay, in throwing they yell quite a bit. And so what I wanted to do is, there's actually research on yelling. And this is something that I would love to actually do a Peak Strength video. So if you follow Peak Strength's YouTube channel, we do analyze research papers on Peak Strength. And so what I want to do is check out this paper right here, the effect of yelling on maximal aerobic power during an incremental test of cycling performance. So essentially what these people did, okay, Chen Lang Chen, Nan Ying Lu, and Jingsha Tang all analyzed this, and they said, what happens when you yell during aerobic power output and incremental, and see what happens during these incremental tests. And so basically, when some people experience strong feelings of fatigue, think about driving down the highway. You're driving down the highway, you can barely stay awake, and you start yelling. Like, I don't know if other people do that. I've done that myself. I've been very, very tired at times, and you like stick your head out the window. Does it work? Probably not. But this is sort of, people experience strong feelings of fatigue during exercise, sometimes subconsciously yell to refocus their efforts. So you're tired, you're grinding, and you might be like, come on. You sort of yell at yourself to a point, sort of wake yourself up. And this is done to refocus their efforts and thus maintain exercise performance. And the present study examined the influence of yelling during high intensity exercise. And so they even did EMGs of the vastus lateralis during these cycle ergometer tests. And so a total of 23 moderately trained people were recruited. They went through these tests for 25 watts per minute, which is gradually increased. And then during the experimental trial, the participants were required to yell at least 3 times when they started to feel exhausted. So first of all, I think it's great. Like the individuals were told, like, hey, let's when you start to get tired, I want you to really start to yell. Okay. Imagine going into a research area and you're at a university and they're like, all right, we're going to do some really good research. Once you get tired, I want you to scream as loud as you possibly can, which I think is hilarious. So the testing order was randomly assigned and the 2 trials were completed. And there was an interval between the 2 trials of about 3 to 10 days. So they tested you under fatigue, made you yell 3 times. And then about 7 days later, they tested you under fatigue and they made you yell 3 times. And when you yell, what's the response? Okay, and so the conclusion was that yelling enhances the peak oxygen pulse and VO2 and maintains CO2 exclusion efficiency during high intensity exercise. So you're yelling and it actually maintains carbon dioxide exclusion, and it may enable maintaining muscle activation without stronger EMG signals. So you can maintain that high output while yelling. You get the CO2 exclusion, and you can continue to put out a large amount of force. Now, the next study that's about yelling that I wanted to share with you guys was the effect of vocalization, and this is in the chat over here. If you're on Instagram, you should just go to YouTube Live because you can actually get access to all these links here. But if you click on the Digital Commons Western Kentucky link, you can save that for after the live, and you can check it out. And this is where recently at Drexel, I guess this was 2015, I think, 2014. So the effect, dude, this is just amazing. The effect of vocalization on static hand grip force output. This is from the International Journal of Exercise Science. Okay, so this is the real deal stuff, right? Basically what these researchers did is they examined maximal static hand grip force between 3 conditions: passive breathing, forced exhalation, and vocalized exhalation. So they tested individuals just passively breathing. What kind of max output could they use? They did something where they had them exhale and squeeze, and then they had one where they yell and squeeze. And what's the comparison? What happens? It's similar to like benching and you're just breathing versus benching with exhalation versus benching and yelling. Okay, that's essentially the test, but they did that for the grip. And so they found that the average hand grip force during vocalization was greater than passive breathing, okay? And by 25% compared to passive breathing, and by 11%. So 25% increase. If you're just passively breathing versus yelling, the yelling is going to increase your strength by 25%. That's insane. That's an ungodly large amount of force. If you're deadlifting, just make it as simple as possible, 400 pounds, and you yell versus passively breathe. If you yell, you might deadlift 500 pounds. If all you've ever done in your whole life is passively breathe while you deadlift, and you deadlift 405 with passive breathing, based off of this study. Okay, now this is also, to be fair, entirely related to hand grip force output. So I want to see, there was 18 women and 12 men. 18 women and 12 men. And so in a nutshell, 18 women, 12 men, they bring them in. They say, I want you to squeeze this hand dynamometer, and you squeeze it by passively breathing. They get a test result. They squeeze it by exhalation. They get a test result. They squeeze it, and they've got to yell. Bah! They get a test result. The comparison is the time that they yell is the highest amount of force. The time that they just exhale, they improve they have an improvement on that by 11%. By just breathing, they have an improvement by 25%. So what's that mean? That means once you start getting into a groove and once you start training, you better start putting out serious power output, and you better at some point get that guttural yell. And I want to share a quick story before I head in and I start answering all the questions that are coming in on the YouTube live. Is that, you know, in our own world of training, we train a lot of throwers, okay, a lot of weightlifters. Sam Mattis is known for this. He'll warm up in the discus and he'll look like total trash. Like not total trash, but he'll look like, yeah, he's throwing 60 meters. He's throwing 60 meters. And he did this year at US Nationals when he won the US National title. He's throwing 60 meters in warm-ups, not yelling. And then all of a sudden, first throw, you know, actually this year he didn't have a great first throw. Second throw this year, goes in, screams his head off, and he adds almost 6 meters. He went 66-60, okay? So just by adding that yell, his increase was probably, if he was throwing 60 meters and he added close to 6 meters, you know, now we're looking at 10%. So we're starting to think like, all right, there might be some accuracy here. There might be like a 5 to 10% increase. I think 25% is, to be fair, a bit much. But for most athletes, I do think that you would see, especially on the elite level, you would see a 5 to 7, maybe 10% increase based off of your overall performance. And also we've got to remember that the hand grip force output is typically going to be a very short test. It's going to be, I want to say it's like 4 to 7 seconds. So it is a shorter test. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you're wrestling or something, you should be screaming every time you take a shot. But we also know Serena Williams, who's arguably the greatest female tennis player of all time, the most dominant, she would yell when she would hit the tennis ball, and she had a tremendous amount of power that would go into the ball. So I think it's like, take these studies, you know, we went over the studies on the weighted vest training, and then we went into the studies on yelling for aerobic capacity and the studies for yelling for your grip. And then you can see that there's a positive way to analyze, you know, what actually is research telling us, and then how can we sort of use that research to our advantage. I think that oftentimes we get paralyzed by research, but if we look through that lens of where can we put this into our training, I would argue in parabolic periodization, you would use yelling more so during the, let's say, the ascension phase and the summit phase, and you would use it more so when you're doing a heavy clean, a heavy back squat, a heavy bench press, and use it. Don't use it so much that it becomes worthless. You've got to use it at the right time, and you've got to sort of develop that ability. It's like creatine. It's like you want to wait to use creatine until all of a sudden now you're using creatine when you're 16, 17 years old and you're just crushing it, right? I think that's sort of how I would look at it. So, all right, Anonymous is in the chat. You don't need gym if I be honest with you, depending on your goal. I mean, you don't need to go to the gym at all if you don't want to. You don't need to do anything. You can just lay on the couch. Guys, what did he say about, okay, so Anonymous is asking about the 315-pound bench press. I knew this was going to trigger people. So the argument here, I recently hurt my coccyx. It's been a month. What exercises can I use to strengthen it? Ooh, dude, I have no idea. I don't know. That's a stumped question. What up, Dane? If I'm going to sled every day for leg strength and longevity, how and what should I do then? Okay, so if we wanted to do sled-based training, again, I think it depends on your goals. I think it depends on, what do you drink, sugar or sucralose? I don't usually drink sucralose unless I am, if I'm drinking sucralose, it's in like energy drinks. To go back to this, and I want to go back to that coccyx, because isn't the coccyx the bone? Oh no, that's the something oid. I'm trying to think about where the coccyx is. I should probably Google that right now, but let's get back to these questions. So if I'm doing sled-based work, I think you could do a backward pull, push, pull, push, pull, push to begin every single workout. I think twice a week you could load up with a bit more weight. I actually really like doing sled pulls. Tailbone, duh. So the tailbone, that's an interesting one, because a lot of people growing up, they will have like as you're aging, you'll have tailbone pain. Oftentimes it's like lower back pain when athletes start to squat full range of motion. And sometimes it can be more so related. It's more so muscular, and it's not actually the bone. Now, if you have an actual bruise on the tailbone, this is likely caused by some type of trauma. So you slipped, you fell, you got, like, a lot of times football players will get it because they might get hit with a helmet there or something. So usually that will cause issues when they're going through a full range of motion. So, yeah, I think that as far as how you heard it is gonna play a major role. Now, getting back to the sledding, I think pull back, push forward is something that we can do on a regular basis every single day to warm up. I think you can cool down with a pull back, push forward. I think sled pull forward and heavy sled pushes have their role as something that you would do on a leg power day. So I would typically do that on probably the strength portion, the absolute strength portion of a leg power day after you do some type of technical coordination. That's how I would set up training with a sled. Gecko just asked, which lifting program should I buy for wrestling? I'm not experienced with weightlifting movements, so I'm not sure. Gecko, I would just get Peak Strength. Go in, download Peak Strength. You go to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store, and you can download that and then click on wrestling. And if you're not familiar with weightlifting movements, you can replace the weightlifting exercises. Okay, you can actually change, and inside of the survey, you can say, I don't want to do weightlifting exercises, and you're still going to get a wrestling specific program. Now, if you want to learn them, you can also learn from the specific videos. So we have instructional videos inside the app. So you can say that you want to do them, and then you can learn them over time. So I would say go to Peak Strength, click on the wrestling portion, and you're going to get a full wrestling workout designed to that. And that's stuff that, we used to get 2 to 3 All-Americans this year at the NCAA tournament. We had a finalist in the 197 who got second. So it's a really, really good program. Now, can speed pad bench be replaced by clap push-ups if you don't have bench, if you don't have barbell or gym access? So this is from Anonymous. Yes, I believe it can be to a point. Once you get over a certain level, though, once you get to a certain degree with your bench, let's say you're benching 500 pounds, it's not going to be as effective with the clap push-ups. So what I would say, Anonymous is asking this question. I also think try to set up some type of dip bars, because I think with the clap push-ups and with dips, you can blow your bench up to a very, very extraordinary degree. And to echo Anonymous, he was one of the things that he even said, and this is one of the other parts around Peak Strength, is that inside Peak Strength, we even have workouts that are just body weight based, totally body weight. Okay. I would argue if you did dips, pull-ups, clap push-ups, and handstand push-ups, if you did those every day, all the time, you don't really need to go to the gym. Now you're going to get to a point where maybe you are only bench pressing 315, then you're going to have to start benching more, but you can get a lot of work from doing those specific movement patterns. What are the best gyms you recommend? I just go to Planet Fitness now, but would like to try something different. I think Joelwa 28, that's going to depend upon where you're at. I think it's really going to depend upon your location. Is there a gym like ours around you? If there is, then you should go there. It's going to be better culture. It's going to be a better experience. If there's not, go to like LA Fitness or what are those other places called? Like a place like LA Fitness. I think that they're all great. So going back, Anonymous is really hammering this. Is that I think that if you look at clap push-ups and you understand what volume can do for mechanical loading, and you understand what plyometrics can do for your adaptive coordination, and you can understand what accelerated patterns can do for your overall capability of force output, then that's what you see directly through the lens of clap push-ups. That happens, and it's so easy. And if you even elevate your feet, it makes it even crazier. So there's a lot of work that you can get out of doing those clap push-ups. And a lot of people are always looking for this little quick fix. It's like, yo, you bench under 350 pounds. Do this and do it for 16 weeks. Okay, you're a chick and you can't bench 200 pounds. Do this and do it every day for 16 weeks. And then all of a sudden, they're doing dips and they're doing other things, and they're going to blow that up. Eli Noriega, Peak Strength and Garage Strength might be the best thing to have happened to me. I'm not going to lie. I found out about them in my second deployment to Japan. Eli, thank you so much. I hope you also were able to check out some of our peak strength videos on training for boot camp for the military and things along those lines. I hope that we can help you, with your fitness goals. And I think that's the main goal with peak strength is like we just put in that update. Maybe I should share with you guys the athletic fitness update. I'm going to try and do this on the live here. Is that if we get in here, right, and I get into athletic fitness, and so this is the design was, let's say the peak strength work, that if you're if you're an athlete inside peak strength, you can go in and you can click on, I want to train for badminton, I want to train for football, I want to train as a linebacker, I want to train as a baseball player, I want to train as a quarterback, I want to train as a swimmer, and you can click on all of those specific sports, and we have programs that are different sport to sport. Okay, so if you're an athlete, we've got that taken care of. And we just put in this update on athletic fitness. So now let's say we've got coaches or we have athletes that maybe you're in the off season and you sort of go in the gym and maybe one day you want to bench or you want to get a big time pump. Then the next day, I don't really want to get a pump. I just want to lift heavy. I feel pretty strong today. I want to try and push my max in a back squat, do a heavy double, heavy triple, heavy set of 5, something like that. And then the next day you go in, I want to work on cardio. I want to feel a little bit better. So one of the cool parts that we did is that inside of the athletic fitness here, you can actually see, you'll get a program and you can click on, let's say, so I'm clicking on the strength portion right here, right? So I'm clicking on strength, and what it's going to do is it's going to populate that program, all right? And it's going to show you, all right, now I'm going to give you a workout that's, okay, deadlift base, 5 sets of 5, that's going to help me build my strength. But I might want to, let's say it's the same exact workout, and instead of doing deadlift 5 sets of 5 and focusing on my strength, I'm going to click on that, and it just spit me up. Now I want to do something more functional. Well, if I'm doing something more functional, it's going to give me cleans. Low hang power clean plus low hang clean, okay? And so we're going to even show you something like this. We're going to demonstrate for you, and this is world team member Jacob Horse. I'm going to try and block my face. There we go. So now you can see how that's laid out, and it's so freaking cool because it's basically exactly what I do in the gym. So I feel like now inside of peak strength, we've got we've got athletes go into peak strength, and we're going to help you solve your problems. Eli Noriega, we're going to help you become more fit. And then we've got coaches over here, or retired athletes, or athletes in the off season where they don't really, what's up, Jason Van Royen, I see you in there. We have other athletes that maybe they don't know what they want to do in the off season. Well, they can go into the athletic fitness, and it's like, all right, well, today I want to focus on bodybuilding, or the next day I want to focus on cardio, the next day I want to focus on strength. And it's basically, that's the system that I use when I get into the gym. And so I think it's pretty cool. Owen Horgan is asking, how do hockey energy systems compare to football? I think they're relatively similar because hockey has shifts. Okay, so there's a bit more nonstop action. However, hockey has shifts. You typically are going to have 2 to 3 shifts at the lower level. Okay, so if you are going through these shifts, let's say I'm a defenseman, I'm a blue liner, I'm going to be using a lot of the alactic system and the anaerobic system, right? So, the glycolytic system. So if I'm doing that, and they're always supported by the aerobic system. So that's one of the other big factors, is that when we're looking at energy systems, the aerobic system is always working. While I'm sitting here right now, my aerobic capacity, my aerobic system is doing work. Okay, that's always happening. Now, if I need to use a large amount of ATP to produce a large amount of force, that's when we start to also use the alactic system or the glycolytic system. So it's always supported by the aerobic capacity. But when we have to produce a large amount of force in a short period of time, or a large amount of force over an extended period of time, we'll tap into those other energy sources. So when we're looking at something like ice hockey versus football, are the energy systems the same? Yes, they're going to be the same because of the shifts, and because of I would actually argue there's going to be a little bit less power output in football because hockey does have those shifts, which is also why I'm blown away by how bad the NHL combine tests are. They are horrible. I don't know if anybody else saw them, but they were bad. It's like, what are hockey players strength training? are they working on being more explosive? I also know that there's different mechanics in how they skate and things, and there's so much skill involved with hockey, but still. Okay, so Keith just asked, will you expand peak strength with more focus-based programs? Say I want to focus on jumping, speed, or strength for preseason. Yes, we will do that, but the next major update will not have that in it, but we will do that long term. So you should stay in it, Keith, and keep getting swole. What would a front squat progression look like in parabolic periodization for football players? Okay, so a front squat progression, let's work you through 16 weeks. So let's do a 4-week cycle of front squats. That first 4-week cycle of front squats, I'm going to do 1 day zombie squats for, let's say we do 4 sets of 5 zombie squats. And then on the second leg day, let's say we do 6 double pause front squats. Then we get into the second area or the second 4 weeks. The second 4 weeks, we do front squats off of pins. And then we do, instead of unbroken zombie squats, we do heavier zombie squats. So like 5 doubles, 6 doubles again. Okay, then the third phase, now we're going to do just front squats on day 1. So let's do standard front squats and just try and build that up. On day 4, we'll do a pause front squat into a double bounce front squat into an immediate unbroken front squat. Okay, so that's a good front squat series that I love to use. It's one of my favorite complex series for developing front squats. And then week 4 or program 4, block 4, the progression would be push your front squat to a heavy double on day 1, push your front squat to an unbroken triple on day 4. That would be a great progression that you could use and you could lay out over 16 weeks and build into some serious gains. Ice hockey could do the trap bar deadlift 3 rep max like the military test instead of standing jumps. I agree with that to a point. If I was testing hockey players, I would actually test a single leg squat. That's what they're doing. And I also think they probably should be testing like a drop single leg bound, something like that. Cause I think that would show you, if you did a unilateral drop bound, and then you did a unilateral like triple jump into it, I think you would see a consistent power output, that repetitive work that we would be looking for. Will you at some point be able to put in your entire season into peak strength with matches, free weeks, preseason, winter preseason, and so on? Yeah, Keith, I think that's a phenomenal idea. That's all stuff we want to work towards, and that we're going to build that into 100%. And that's an absolutely fantastic idea. And that's just stuff that we're going to keep doing. I just sent you an email at your Dane email. Do you still use that email, Jimboy9? I do. I don't know if I got the email. Amika Olu, if I were to set up a home gym to use during my football and wrestling seasons, what do you believe would be the best equipment to buy, and what exercises should I do during my football and wrestling season? Buy bumper plates, buy a barbell, buy a squat rack, buy a dip rack, and have a pull-up bar. Okay, so if you can do back squats, single leg squats, bench presses, cleans, hang cleans, power snatches, full snatches, hang snatches, dips, clap push-ups, reclining pull-ups off of the dip rack. Right there, you've got all that, and all you just did right there was you have a barbell, you have bumper plates, so maybe 1 set of bumper plates. And this reminds me of my home gym growing up. The reason why we are called Garage Strength is because I asked for a set of bumper plates when I was in 10th grade. I asked for that for my Christmas gift. Okay, so this is 2000, the year 2000. Actually, it would have been 1999 heading into 2000. I'm in 10th grade, and I say, all I want for Christmas is bumper plates. I had started to read in Powerlifting USA and reading these other magazines that we would get at the Redner's at the local grocery store about weightlifting, and I was starting to see it on the internet. And so I said, all right, I want these bumper plates, and we were doing some power cleans at school, but I was using metal plates. And my parents got me, they're called Kraybergs. I don't even know if they still exist, but they got me a set of Krayberg bumper plates. And so then I went out in the gym or out in the garage. We had a small garage, and that's actually where we started the business when I was 24. And I would go out there and I would put the bumper plates on, and then I would put metal plates on the outside. So I'd clean 315 pounds, and I would have a 55-pound bumper and then 2 35s on each side, literally, and then it would cut the concrete floor sometimes. But I would do cleans off of that, and then we had a rack. We had a squat rack, so we could do squats off of, and we could also bench out of that rack as well. And then we had dip bars that we sort of made that we put into the corner, and a pull-up bar. That was all we had in the original Garage Strength. But then we had that barbell. So the barbell, you could do, walking lunges with it. You could do curls with it. You could do floor benches with it. You could do push-ups on the barbell. You could do ab wheel rollouts on the barbell. You can do, anything that you could do side Cossack squats, step-ups just with the bar. So I would start a home gym with a barbell and a squat rack, or a barbell and a bumper plate. The craziest thing, I was just thinking about this. So that would have been 1999 going into 2000. That will be 24 years ago, or 23 years ago this year. Man, so I was, 16 at the time. My parents bought me the bumper plates. I want to say there was like $180. And we still have them here. We use them actually in the sports performance side still. So we should see, does Krayberg still exist? It was a German company, Kraiburg. Somebody comment in the section and tell me if Krayberg still makes, does Krayberg still make bumper plates? Avanco at the time used to make that too. Okay, so GizmoGadget.com. Max bench 265. I can barely squat the bar properly. Should I focus only on core and lower body? This is another interesting question, is that a lot of people will try their hardest to get out of squatting. They'll try as hard as they can. I don't want to squat. So I'm worried about my back. I'm worried about my core. Dude, just start squatting and squat with the bar, ass to grass. Just do that. Do 5 sets of 5 ass to grass with the bar. Do that for 3 weeks and then put on 25s. Squat, ass to grass, 95 pounds. 5 sets of 5, 6 sets of 6, stuff like that. Then after you do that for 2 to 3 weeks, put on 45s. Do that. You build up. Then you get to 175. Then you get to 185. Then you get to 225. Now all of a sudden your back squat catches up to your bench press. You're not going to get away with not squatting. If you want to be an elite athlete, you have to squat. Okay. Mass is saying that he thinks that Krayberg stopped production in 2012, or at least the U.S. sales ceased. The first bumper set in the gym here was Krayberg's as well. Still use them. Yeah, they were good. The only problem I had with them was how fat they were. They were super fat. But that's also why they lasted a while. What's the best sports-specific exercise for lacrosse for upper body, lower body, and core? Jim Boy 9. Best sports-specific exercise for lacrosse. I would say, if you guys saw, we posted a video, a banded video where we were on a decline and we had a band here, okay, using it like this, and we had a dumbbell here, and we use this with our discus throwers. So we twist, come up and punch, twist, come up and punch. And you can use this, you can hook a band into this hand and you have a dumbbell and you can also hit it that way. And I would really like that for lacrosse. We use it a lot for shot putters and discus throwers. Actually, Sam, that's how we peaked Sam. It was a sports specific exercise for discus. He just won the national title. So I would say that would be a good aspect. Owen Horgan, yes, we do offer personalized plans outside of Peak Strength. I would pay so much money for that. Thank you. These live streams are gold. Thanks for coming into the live streams. Also, guys, if you're on Instagram, head over to the YouTube Live. Just go to the Garage Strength community on YouTube Live. But Owen, we do offer that. You can email support@garagestrength.com, and through our website on the custom link, if Jason could put that in there, on the custom link, you can actually submit an application. So the way to get on the custom training is you actually have to apply to get custom programming. Is the 50 clap push-ups meant to be unbroken? No. So that's another factor, is that ideally when you do your clap push-ups, you might do 10 sets of 5, or you might do 5 sets of 10, or you might do 2 sets of 25. It's however you lay that out. Eli Noriega coming back in. He had to pause the live video for a second. I had already been in the military for 3 years before I found you guys. I didn't know you had boot camp related videos. That's awesome. So yes, we just recently have been doing stuff like that. As a coach, how do you prepare for the preseason? Keist, when we're looking at the preseason, one, we look at the sport and what are the sport characteristics that we need to train specific to that. We go into depth on that in our Garage Strength program design. So in GSPD, also Keist, if you were in our private YouTube Live, I could cover that in depth. I would even bring out the whiteboard for you if you were in our private YouTube Live. But we would go into looking at the strength characteristics specific to the sport. We would then take that and try to build that out. What are your weaknesses then? We would test you related to take those tests related to your sport characteristics, to your strength characteristics, and really try and figure out like, okay, this player needs these issues. They have these issues relative to the strength characteristics. Now let's build out that journey coming backwards to make them the best version of themselves in 16 or 20 weeks. This is where they need to be. Let's tell that story up front and then look at where they are here and then build everything back off of that. And Owen, you can see we just provided that link there for the Garage Strength program design. So I think that that's a unique way to go about doing anything. So if we have goals or ideals that we want to achieve in life, I think that's a really good way to build everything out. What's better to improve endurance when injured, stationary bike or rower bike? This is from Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester, how are you doing? I would argue, man, a rower's great. I don't like the stationary bike. I prefer a fan bike. I would probably say a fan bike is harder than a rower, but they're both fantastic. Keist also asked a question about mental training. And I think that in the grand scheme of things in life, mental training is called therapy. Like, everybody should go to therapy. Like, no joke. And there's probably all these people. Hopefully there's not people rolling their eyes, but there probably are. Everybody should go to therapy, okay? And give yourself 6 months and do that once or twice a week for 6 months. So mental training in the athletic realm is, you learn how to meditate, you learn how to handle certain stressful situations, and you practice it every single day. Mental training in life is you go to therapy and, you try it, and most likely what happens is you went to 1 or 2 sessions and then you just stopped. You didn't say, I'm going to do this for 6 months or 12 months straight, and I'm going to do it 3 to 4 days a week. And then I'm going to have my own sessions as well for meditation, or my own sessions for working through these different, these different procedures. I'm going to put myself in stressful situations and practice these skills that I'm learning. So if you were asking me, I try to influence my athletes to do this on a daily basis. Okay. I think it's one area that I do struggle with my athletes is that, and now taking someone like Sam, again, who just won the U.S. National Championship, one thing that Sam's very good at is entering into the mental zone that he's so successful, that where it makes him, you trying to pay for my therapy. No, I think that's what we should have insurance for. But obviously that's a whole nother discussion. Now, what I would say in this regard is like Sam. So what's ironic with Sam is that he was losing in the second round, came back, had a big throw, and he was winning. Then in the 5th round, he was losing, came back, had a big throw, and he won. The other big factor, Sam had testicular cancer this year. Okay. He had cancer and came back from that mentally. And one thing we were talking about was, just if you can work through every single day and recognize that you're making gains and you're making progress in some part of your life. Are you planning better? Are you executing better? Are you visualizing better? Are you recovering better? And if you can make those mental strides every single day and you know what makes yourself happy, that's going to help with your mental aspect. Now, I have a lot of athletes that are physically as talented as Sam, and mentally they're at half of the level of him. Okay. I have some athletes that actually I think are more mentally gifted than him and not as talented. And what happens is that in mental training, if you have someone who is talented physically here, but mentally they're here, you'll see a performance where they drastically underperform because they can't handle stress. And oftentimes these athletes will say things along the lines of, I don't understand why I performed so poorly. I just couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel anything when I was competing. And the reason why they can't feel anything is because they put so much internal pressure on that competition that they don't have good feeling. They don't have good awareness. They might not even feel anxiety, but they're not feeling anxiety because they're paralyzed by the thought and the pressure that they had put on leading into that event. So the main thing here is that mental training is huge. And what's crazy is that if you look at mental training, for let's say football or wrestling or tennis, you might study other competitors, and you study their trends and you study their tendencies. Baseball, great example. And so the mental training then becomes focused on the adaptation to your opponent. But in an individual sport like weightlifting or like football or like throwing, it can be very challenging to understand what that mental training is, because you're not really pinning it on the opposition. Whereas in other areas you would be. Oh, Samuel, you're asking, yo, Dane, where do you buy your shirts? Thinking about the MF Doom shirt. Yo, what about this shirt? This is a sweet shirt. I think this shirt is still available on our website, but I'm not positive. I am very good at finding t-shirts. I have an uncanny ability to find things that I like. I'm also patient, and I'm very good at scouring the internet for things. I'll find random private artists. I'll just find shit everywhere. What gyms do you recommend? I'd already answered this, Jowa. Is it bad to take an extra 2 to 3 seconds of rest in between reps in order to try and squeeze out more reps? This is a great question from Kai Van Curler. So Kai, taking those reps is a way for your body to recruit more high threshold motor units. So a lot of people, this is a great clip that we should cut out and post on social media. Why do we pause at the top of a bench press? Okay, why do we do an unbroken bench press and then we pause a little bit and then we do more reps? Or why do we pause? We might do 1, 2 back squats, then we brace again and we might rest 3 to 4 seconds and then we go again. Or why do you watch somebody who hits a really heavy clean and they stand at the top, they regroup, they pause a little bit and then they go? What is actually happening is your body in that moment is trying to recruit more high threshold motor units. Your body is recognizing the amount of stress that it's under. So you hit these big benches, right? And then you get set and you pause a little bit and you start to focus on the intent of that next rep. And typically that rep will be very dialed in technically. You'll hit a very good groove and you're recruiting more high threshold motor units to execute that rep at high speed. It's the same exact thing for a back squat. You might hit 1 or 2 really big back squat reps, and you're trying to really groove that next rep. So that's why you're pausing a little bit for that 2 to 3 seconds. That's a really good trick that you can use to hit those extra if you're doing a 3 rep max or a 5 rep max. Now, one interesting thing here that just came out, Kai Van Curler, is that there's a decent amount of evidence. They're starting to, meaning researchers, are looking at cluster sets versus drop sets. Do you get more gains physically, size-wise, from drop sets? So do you achieve more hypertrophy from drop sets, or do you achieve more hypertrophy from cluster sets, or do you achieve more strength from drop sets, or do you achieve more strength from cluster sets? And so recently, there's actually been a decent amount of evidence. There's been 2 studies on the rest pause method. Okay, so the rest pause method would be cluster sets, and rest pause. The Money Mike, will you or any of the throwers might be coming to Oregon? We'll be coming to Oregon very likely for the Diamond League final. But going back to the rest pause method, if you would go onto, and maybe I might even have this in our research paper, our research document, Jason. Recently, there's been a research paper, published on the rest pause method. And even if we would take what we just covered with Kai Van Curler, where we were talking about just pausing for those 2 to 3 seconds, another interesting thing, and we've covered this in the Mattis cluster set, is that there's a massive amount of strength. So let's say strength gains that you want to look for. Okay. A real quick trick that you can do is do cluster sets twice a week for 8 weeks. Okay. So let's say leg power day. If you're inside peak strength, you're going to do a leg power day and you're going to do an impulse day, but you could even do this for your bench day. Let's say you want to blow up your bench, but I'm going to talk about back squats. You can do 10 singles every 30 seconds. Okay. So you do a single at, let's say 90% of your max, rest 30 seconds, do another single, rest 30 seconds, do another single, rest 30 seconds, do another single. And then you rest for 5 minutes and then you do 5 doubles and you do 30 seconds, rest, you hit a double, 30 seconds rest, you hit another double. Cluster sets are bigger versions of those pauses intraset. So if I'm inside of a set and I have those rep pauses, that's very similar to the cluster set pause period. And cluster sets are showing to be probably the best way to get a large amount of volume at a very high intensity, and will also lead to the most amount of gains strength-wise. Anonymous, sprinting is for strength and power, and when you do cone drills, you work on your stability and coordination. I think cone drills can also increase your speed as well because it'll improve your acceleration. When it comes to clap push-ups, how much would body weight, yes, thank you, Jason. How much would body weight affect strength gains? Body weight would affect strength gains. If you're lighter, I would say elevate your feet. Do you use cluster sets for technical coordination? Yes, you can, or you can even just do on-the-minute sets as well. As close to a shift as possible. Okay, so yeah, you would go, let's say, I would say on the minute would be closer to what you're talking about, Owen. Coach, what 3 to 5 exercises could I do as a wrestler to improve my fast twitch muscle fiber and be more explosive, and how many times would I hit them? This would be a video. This would be like a YouTube video. The 5 best explosive exercises for wrestling. I actually think we might even have that video. I'm pretty sure we do have that video. But what I would do is, let's say a hang power snatch, unbroken front squats, explosive pull-ups, rope climbs, and dumbbell benches on command. I would, if I was a wrestler, I would hammer those. I appreciate the knowledge you just dropped on cluster sets. I didn't know much about them. Thank you, Eli. I appreciate that. Again, guys, what we're trying to do is my main goal is, like I mentioned earlier, with peak strength, is like you guys have access to that strength training aspect, right? You can go in and click on the sports performance side, and actually I would do, this is Logan Rickard 05 just asked, what do you recommend for a 40-yard dash? Sled pulls. Velocity decrement shouldn't be greater than 30%. So don't, put on like a 25-pound plate. But basically what we're trying to do here is, we have the sports performance side of peak strength. You go in, and if you're an athlete, you click on the sports performance side. If you're in the off season, or you're a coach, or you're a retired athlete, you would click on athletic fitness. And then we're taking the research from these papers that we're analyzing in these lives, right? We take all of this stuff, and then we take everything around our training model, okay? So we take our training model, Garage Strength Program Design, everything that's inside of this book, we'll take and we combine it with these research papers, and we create peak strength. Okay. So then that influences peak strength. And then all of the testing that we're doing with our world-class athletes here, all of the knowledge that we learned from our world-class athletes, we implement and we update and we increase and we improve the peak strength system. So you guys have direct access to it. That's what we're doing in these lives as well, as we're trying to make as much freak level access so that you guys become freaks. And one day, what's cool is some of the athletes now that are inside of peak strength, I might see at world championships. Actually, Josh Cinemo is inside of peak strength. Okay. He's inside of peak strength. He's one of our users. He's just got second in the world. Okay. He's the second best para shot putter in the entire world. And he's done peak strength since the day we released it. And that's something cool that we are now tapping into with the ability of peak strength. But also, we're starting to help out coaches that don't know what to do with training because they're so involved with their own strength training, with training athletes. They don't even know what they can do themselves to improve their health. Keist, heard about research about local cooling to increase strength. That's interesting because I just was reading about local hand cooling. Remember, it was based on some guy doing dips. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was related to cooling of the hands. Yeah. Geez, I should actually read your whole entire statement. So is that something that I've heard about? Yes and no. Yes, I've heard about it. I've read about it. Conradis 730, my book, is available in Europe, yes. But you can also pick it up and get access to the course as well, the ebook and then a course. But Keist, I have read about it. I think some of the research has been funded by companies that do hand cooling. I might have to look into that a little bit further, but recently I was just looking into this as well. Gizmo 2 Gadgets. Is it okay or beneficial to bench every day and sometimes twice a day? I don't know about benching every single day, but I think doing those clap push-ups would be plenty. I think that would suffice. Yeah, I don't know about benching every single day. Any recommendations for exercises for hip engagement and locking out when taking on blocks in football? I honestly, single leg squats and snatches are the best ways to light up your hips for those specific sports. Weighted jump squats versus weighted pistol squats. Ooh, it would depend on. Okay, so Anonymous did this last week. I'm pretty sure it was you, Anonymous, and I want to go back to last week's YouTube Live and pull out some of the questions. But like weighted jump squats versus weighted pistol squats, a great video. It's like a battle. Which one's better? It reminds me of like Tekken back in the day. If we had like a thumbnail that was like a Tekken thumbnail, weighted jump squats versus weighted pistol squats, which one wins? And then we did a video breaking that down. I think that would be an awesome peak strength video and a fun one to do. And it would just be like which one's better for which situations. And then you'd have like verses here, and then you sort of dump that. So Anonymous, I like doing both weighted jump squats and weighted pistol squats. Honestly, I would probably prefer weighted jump squats as a grand scheme. And that's something that I think, yeah, we got to go back and look at last week. Anonymous, you did a great job of giving us a lot of that content. When I was new to power snatch, I went heavy the first set. I know that was dumb. I felt my spine dislocate, and after that, when I do something heavy, it hurts, and it feels like it's not located properly. I would just say ease back in as light as possible and try to stay under 80% for 6 months and go see a doctor. Bobby Big Duck, can you give me advice on what I can do to increase my push press from 215 to 315? Some of the best ways to increase your push press, one would be tricep strength. Two, I would try to hammer front squats. Okay, hammer front squats, hammer zombie squats. And on your impulse day, so day 4, if you're inside of peak strength, I would do like a zombie squat with a push press. You start to use some contrast methods there. Thoughts on French contrast? I think it's fine. Tips on losing muscle mass but not strength. Why would you want to lose muscle mass? I don't know. I would not have a tip for that because I don't think you should do that. All right, I'm going to head out. It is past time. We just ran out of disk space, and also I noticed that my computer is about to die because it's not plugged into a power source. Why is my computer not plugged into a power source? Anyway, you guys, Anonymous, I want you to post some more of those challenges. I think those are some really, really cool videos that we could do, like a Mortal Kombat style fight. Great YouTube Live. I'm excited. Instagram guys, you can go over and check us out on YouTube Live. And don't forget, you guys comment if you want to win those free t-shirts. Position the Positron and Sean Turner 2404. You gotta claim that. Send us that email. Wait, this is from Boss Type Big Man. Boss Type Big Man, give me that question. Hurry up. I'm about to leave. And you guys check out those research papers that I posted, that we put in here. And that's going to help with your overall training. And don't forget, everything is formulated and created inside of Peak Strength. If you're an athlete, click on your sports performance that is specific to your sport. You can click on being an offensive lineman, being a quarterback, being a baseball player, being a wrestler, being a swimmer. And if you're over in the realm of general fitness, click on athletic fitness. That's going to help you figure out, do you want to improve your overall general functional fitness? Do you want to improve your weight loss? Do you want to improve your muscle? Or do you want to improve your strength? And you can figure out what you want based off of that. Boss Type Big Man, I'm waiting. I am waiting. All right, I'm going to head out. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Post your questions for next week in the community posts on YouTube so that we can get even more questions ready and I can answer them to start off next week. Until next time, peace.